and welcome to the Lifestyle Refresh podcast. I'm Stephanie, and I'm so excited to have you here. This is a space where we explore what it really means to live a balanced, healthy, and fulfilled life through fitness, mindfulness, resilience, and everything in between. I created this podcast to share with you my journey, all the ups and downs, and the lessons I've learned along the way. My hope is that it inspires you to show up for yourself no matter where you're starting from. Each episode will dive into topics that will help you refresh your mindset, habits, and lifestyle so that you can step into the best version of yourself. I'm so glad you're here to join me on this journey. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Lifestyle Refresh in my parenting series. Today, we're diving into a topic that's personal: how food and nutrition play a major role in behavior, emotional regulation, and ADHD. If you've been following me for a while, you know I'm passionate about holistic health, balance, and really understanding how what we put in our bodies affects our overall well-being. This episode is going to be a little mix of personal experience, some research, and key takeaways from a documentary I recently watched called To Die For, which actually explores the impact of artificial dyes and additives on children's behavior. So whether you're a parent, someone struggling with focus and energy, or just curious about the connection between food and the mind, this one's for you. But I want to start with a personal story, one that really opened my eyes to how much food impacts our kids' emotions and behavior. As a mom, I did start noticing shifts in my son's mood and energy after certain meals or snacks when he was young. And I had heard the talk of on the internet, of artificial dyes and certain additives being the culprit for that as well. So I was aware of that, but it didn't start out as super obvious. It was definitely just something that I was slowly starting to pick up on. But that was the difference. That was what's really started to stand out to me was when he had certain days. Some days he would just be so full of energy, but not in like the positive way. He would just be restless, emotional, and just really, really struggling to regulate himself. But then we would have these alternate days where he was actually calm and more focused. And that was when I started to question, what is causing this difference? Where it's like completely different behavior one day versus the other. I was just curious to start paying attention to that. And he didn't understand it young, but I did start having that conversation with him young about how food made him feel if he noticed a certain way. And it kind of was like the annoying thing I would do to him when it started out, but now he's very aware of it. And now he makes big decisions to give up food he would otherwise really want because he knows how much it affects him. It's been a journey with him, and it's been years. It's taken a long time for us to get to where we are now, but looking back, And now doing this episode, it's crazy to think about because it started out obvious like that, but it's come in ways, and but he has come a long way. He fully can now see how certain foods even make him feel. But back in the beginning, I just started paying closer attention to those foods he was eating, and I started trying to catch on to the pattern. Pay attention to the foods with dyes, preservatives, added sugars. Those are often followed by those hard to manage behavior spikes. Once you start to make small but intentional changes to their diet, once I did that with him, that was when I saw a real difference. For one of the big foods was him with Doritos. Give that boy Doritos or even Oreos. Oreos was a funny one. But there are certain foods that I would call him Jekyll and Hyde, because he would be like two completely different individuals when he gets into this mode. And once we started paying attention to when he ate things, when he would react, and sometimes it was like 15 minutes after he ate certain foods. But like Gatorade, like any of the artificially dyed sports drinks, he can't have. But now, even like I said, he knows that too. He can make that decision for himself, which is really huge. So I think it's important to be open and have these conversations with your kids about what they eat, how they feel. If they eat too many sweet treats or snacks, like everybody's belly hurts. So having those conversations and being more open and recognizing to those feelings is so important for their growth. It helps them out so much. But with diving into all of this about the dyes and all, oh my God, I got led down a rabbit hole of research on how food, ADHD, and emotional regulation are all deeply connected. So what's actually happening here? Why do certain foods seem to affect behavior so much? Studies have shown that artificial dyes, preservatives, and ultra-processed foods can contribute to hyperactivity, mood swings, attention issues, all of it, especially in kids with ADHD. The gut and brain connection plays a major role here. Our gut health directly affects our neurotransmitters, which impact our mood, our focus, and our emotional regulation. So important to pay, and we're just learning this too. Like, researchers and everybody studying that just discovered the gut microbiome within recent years. And they're just learning all of this stuff kind of about like hormone. There's so much new information on humanity that we're learning that we haven't known before. But they're finding they all are connected. So gut health and your brain health are deeply connected. But it's not just about artificial dyes. Blood sugar spikes from processed foods and refined sugars can also lead to sudden crashes. And that makes kids and adults more irritable and unfocused. They're all interconnected. But why don't we bring this to the To Die For documentary that I watched, which I highly recommend if you're interested in learning more all about this. But they really dive into the effects of artificial dyes on children's behaviors. It's this husband and wife, and they graciously open up on their story and share everything they went through with their children, and throughout the diagnosis for them, discovering everything about the connection between food and what the kids eat and artificial dyes being the culprit or the driver behind these behavior struggles. And when I actually listened to the mom and dad talk on a podcast on Alex Clark, Culture Apothecary, and just even hearing her talk in the way she described, like she had said the same thing. She said Jekyll and Hyde. That was the way her children reacted. And I was like, yes, that is exactly what I feel and what I'm been trying to relate back, like what I've been trying to say. That's it. That is it. Like they turn into a different child. It's crazy. They're two different behavior types, two different people. So when they just listening to them also talk on the podcast, it really made it extra personal. Like I totally related to a lot of the things that they had to say. But also some other big takeaways that I had was that so many countries have banned or required warning labels on artificial dyes. Yet here they're still widely used in the US. I mean, I know with the movement recently and all of that which I'm so excited for, that they are pulling and making these changes, but they're just finding new ways and and it takes years to get them off the shelves. But also in the documentary, they go really deep and they talk to so many parents who have removed dyes from their children's diets and the dramatic improvements they noticed in their children's behavior, focus, emotional regulation, all of it. Huge. Oh my God, so many people to validate this. There's so many people out there. So if you're questioning if food may play a role in your child's sudden outbursts or behavior in some way, start to take note of it and start to pay attention to what they're eating, what they're consuming that may cause that. Because there's so many other parents out there that now that people have finally chosen to speak up in what they believe, that there's more to follow. There's so many other people out there that feel the same way and are going through the same thing. So you're not alone. But also in this documentary, they hit another point, how the food industry markets these processed and artificially colored foods to kids. Despite the research showing their negative effects, they still are pushing them on them. So with the songs and the colors and the characters that they can relate to, they're just making it so it's even harder for us to say no. But we have to stay strong, because at the end of the day, the food that is coming home to our children is from us, and we have the power to say no. It's hard, I know. Sometimes they really put up a fight, but it's really eye-opening and only reinforced what I had already experienced firsthand when watching that documentary. So I was so thankful that someone was willing to share their story in such a way and put in so much time and effort. They put that whole thing together on their own. So it was amazing. They did a really good job, and I'm just so thankful that they shared their story. But bringing it to what can we do about it, right? So now what we know that certain foods maybe and certain ingredients are causing these changes. So, what do we look for? What do we do about this? How do you start? I've got some simple steps to that I have went through. Here's some simple steps that I took and I recommend for you all. Number one is just read labels. And dyes really are the majority of what is triggering this, and they're in so much in everything. It's crazy once you start to actually go through what's in your cabinets and what your kids are eating regularly. Start there and read those ingredients. And if you see red 40, yellow 5, or blue 1, best to avoid them. And just number 2, if you can, if they're into it, I know it's hard when they're picky, but try to focus on whole real foods and keep that offer continuously on the table. Prioritize fruits, veggies, and just the minimally processed options, because there is a difference. There's tiers to how food is processed. And number 3, watch for hidden additives. Dyes just aren't in candy, okay? They're in cereals, snacks, and even medicine. So really check out all of the stuff that you're ingesting. And number 4, balance your blood sugar. So try to pair some carbs with protein and some healthy fats. That way you avoid energy crashes and the mood swings. I mean, for me, I feel like making sure my son has a good breakfast before he goes off, that's one huge for us. And doing it for so long, that's another thing that he's noticed, I think, makes a big difference. If he eats a good, solid, healthy, balanced meal in the morning before he goes off to school, he just feels so much better. He's got more energy. It just starts your day off right. I know I feel better that way, and it's hard even for me to do that and sustain that and keep up with a huge meal every morning, but we've been really trying to do our best prioritizing breakfast, and making sure that's balanced and fulfilling enough to start your day. And I feel like it just helps you out, keeps you for success for the rest of the day. So that's been my priority meal to focus on, and keeping that as on the healthier side as possible, and whole and real foods, because it's hard. They do eat. He's picky too, so all he wants is snacks. So it is really challenging to push that. So I've found that for us it works to really try and keep breakfast being the main one. But but start with one meal where they're getting the most balanced, fulfilling protein, fat type of meal, healthy fat, carbs meal. Do that, and it will grow from there. And keep experimenting. That brings us to 5. Experiment and observe. Try removing artificial additives for a few weeks and just see if you notice a change in the behavior and their focus. And keep that communication open with them about how they're feeling when you're changing the diet and implementing these new things and trying some new things out. Keep the communication about how they're feeling, how food makes them feel, how certain things affect them differently. The more aware they are with you, the better. They're going to learn. At the end of the day, this isn't about being perfect. It's about being mindful. Small changes can make a big difference. And it's all about finding what works best for you and your family. I'd love to hear from you. Maybe you've noticed this, a change in your behavior or focus based off of the food that you had. Let's keep the conversation going. Check out my Instagram at lifestyle.refresh or in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend who might need to hear this. I'll see you next time.